I don't need like a banana stuck in there, and like I don't need like a dick and balls, like with a banana and 2 cherries, or whatever they're doing.
I don't need a banana stuck in there. Jonathan Watkins, circa 2020.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Eat your Wheaties.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. I will eat my Wheaties, Danae. It's a breakfast of champions.
What is that look?
I just don't know where that came from.
Maybe.
Like, I know where it came from.
I was going to say, Danae, let me remind you of what we were talking about 30 seconds ago before we started recording this episode.
I just feel like I'm losing my edge.
Wait, so are you telling me your intro response is your edge? Like that's how you've defined your ability to be a great podcaster?
It's worse than that. It's my peak of the entire show. It's right at the very beginning, and then everything else I do is just downhill.
Oh, man. What is your favorite cereal? Since we're talking about eating our Wheaties, like what's like your guys' go-to for breakfast? Like what's your go-to?
Well, there's a difference between
what's your go-to and what's your favorite, like your treat. So like what's your daily and what's your treat?
Fruit Loops.
Very nice.
No, I love Apple Jacks. Maybe that'd be right.
Apple Jacks is just like Fruit Loops, but one of the fruits.
Fine, Fruit Loops and Rice Krispies with a ton of sugar.
Nice.
At least it's a different shape. Good job. That's hilarious.
My favorite is Fruit Loops, but when I like to get really crazy, I just take out all the fruits but the apple.
Apple's the best.
I do like Apple Jacks, actually.
Apple Jacks are so good.
Yeah. What about you, Danae?
My favorite breakfast cereal is called Basic 4.
Oh, yeah. No, I know Basic 4. That's great.
And there's something about the textures and the flavors all together. I just love the combination of this particular cereal.
Yeah.
They have this coated, it's a sweet fruit, a coated vanilla cluster, a crunchy almond, and then the rice puffs.
Yeah.
But the sweet fruit is my favorite part. I don't know what the fruit is, and it may be something I shouldn't ask. But
it's apple.
It's apple. Yeah.
It's apple. It's one of those cereals that when I was really broke, I would look up at it and be like, can't afford you, guy.
Yeah, it's an expensive cereal. It is.
Yeah. It's not one that's a cheaper one.
I don't think I've even heard of it. Is it just kind of like it almost sounds, I don't know. I guess it's not like anything, actually. I can't think of what I'd compare it to.
I don't like that it says basic in it because that's kind of an insult now.
Cereal's so basic.
When you ask that question, I realized I haven't had it in a long time.
So it's your treat. It's not your go-to. It's your treat. Like it's your favorite.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
What's
my
your go-to
cereal? Wow. I just don't usually eat cereal. So that's a harder question.
Well, you're lactose intolerant too, so you don't usually do the milk thing.
Oh, I'm not supposed to drink milk, but I do for cereal. Although I usually do almond.
Yeah. That's what my wife does, almond milk pretty much now. My go-to is Raisin Nut Bran, which is like the bran cereal with raisins that are covered in nuts. In case that wasn't clear.
Like
75-year-olds eat.
I know, I was gonna say, which is like what Grandpa is eating.
Shut up! I'm sorry I brought it up. It's my go-to. It gets worse. It gets worse because it's my go-to because I need the bran. Guys, listen, I need the bran. I'm just saying.
I do not need the bran. I need less bran. If anything.
It's just so funny because how you deliver it. Like
I know.
When you go back and listen to it, it's like it's called Raisin
Nut Bran. And what it is,
it's amazing.
It's a bran cereal. Anyhow, that's my go-to on a day-to-day basis.
Hey, but you're going to keep your teeth, so that's the important thing. Mine will probably be gone.
Thanks.
I mean, mine's not any better. Mine's Basic 4.
No, I immediately, when you said Basic 4, I thought Raisin Nut Bran, but then that was going to be my comparison, and then I was like, that probably isn't the same thing.
Now, if I want to get crazy.
By the way, what Fruit Loop color tastes like apple? None of them do. I don't know what you're talking about. Now that I think about that, none of those taste like apple.
He's like, I will defend my cereal to the death.
But I'll eat a lot. Like Frosted Flakes is good.
Oh sure.
Fruity Pebbles. I don't like marshmallows. So like Lucky Charms has never been like one I've really. So anything with marshmallows has never been. I also don't like peanut butter flavor cereal. That's never been a thing for me.
The Reese's cereal, Reese's Puffs. That's some good stuff. But Fruity Pebbles is my treat. Fruity Pebbles is just like it's perfection in a spoon. Like as far as like a sugar rush, like I love Fruity Pebbles, so that'd probably be my treat. But yeah, the three cereals we keep all the time are Raisin Nut Bran, Honey Bunches of Oats, and Honey Nut Cheerios. So we're really crazy at our house. And those are our three go-tos. Fun stuff. Who knew we were going to talk about cereal? See, Danae?
Who knew?
See, it was perfect. Your intro was perfect. Let's get into the show. Let's do the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sending them, how we felt about the stuff we're sending in general. Kick it off with some TV sins. Grey's Anatomy, Bringing the Pain. This is a Hughes Watkins script. So Danae and Jonathan wrote on this. I'm not a Grey's Anatomy person, so I'm seeing all this stuff for the first time. I will say neither of the videos we've done have encouraged me to want to become a Grey's Anatomy person. This does not look interesting to me at all.
When I saw it was called Bring the Pain, I thought we were going to be doing the railroad, or what was it, the people that come in with the pole stuck between them. Do you know what I'm talking about, Danae?
Oh yes.
Which is actually the episode after this.
The human skewer.
Yeah, which is actually the episode after this, which I thought was really funny. But when it said Bring the Pain, I assumed that's what we were going to be watching. But no, we're watching the porn one, where the guy's watching porn, so he's not in pain. What were they? Seriously, though, this was an episode like right after this, Aaron, where there was I can't remember how they got stabbed.
It was probably a javelin throwing contest or something.
No, it was wasn't there like a storm or something? Or, God, I don't remember now. But yeah, it's literally these people come in. I think Brittany Snow's like one of them, and they've just got this pole, like this pole is keeping them both alive.
Yeah.
That show's messed up, man. But it was fun for a while. It
is messed up, and I don't know. I think the people who watch it are people who love obviously dramas or like what's it called? Just soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta watch my soap.
Gotta watch my stories.
So they love that. Yeah, the stories.
My stories.
They love that. And then you're kind of mixing in that. Well, ER was ER first or was Grey's Anatomy first?
ER was first.
Yeah.
ER was
okay.
The
That's
90s.
What I thought. So this is like a different take on. I mean, well, the intro. Just look at the intro of the people who are like on the gurney under the sheets with their little feet just naked. They're just like, and they've of course changed the intro over the years. But when it first started, it was just so much about like, okay, who's having sex with who, and that was the main. That's the main reason to tune in. It's not really, and then of course the wild and crazy stories about who comes to the hospital.
Right.
This definitely, I think, begins to show where they're willing to go with the weirdness. You've got like a woman who's missing her soul. You've got somebody stuck in an elevator who needs to have surgery. And people who aren't actually doctors yet are going to do it. You've got, like there's just so much crazy stuff going on.
Can I ask
all
about
the
the porn guy? Since I haven't seen this episode, can I get some clarification? Yeah. Did he just need release? Was that his thing? Like he was in pain if he didn't get release or something? And so they facilitated that? Because it appeared as if she was trying to read him like porny stuff at the end so he could get off.
She was creating it. She was like just telling him stories.
Because the electricity went out, so he couldn't watch porn and manage his pain anymore. So she was.
But that's what I'm saying. So
porn.
his pain is related to he has to ejaculate or he has pain? Like what's the. I didn't understand.
I think it's just the stimulus of releasing the dopamines or whatever. It's just the titillizing nature of
and when
porn.
the power went out, she discovered that it wasn't bullshit. Like he was in an insane amount of pain once he couldn't watch it anymore.
Are you talking psychological pain or physical pain?
No, he was in physical pain. He had actually she says that whatever your dopamine levels and all that stuff was up. Like he was having a struggle. So he had like chronic pain.
It was okay. He was allergic to other meds or they put him in a coma. So
of course
they were saying, if you just constantly watch porn. Now, and by they, I don't mean the doctors at the hospital. It was like he already had this going on before he came to the hospital.
There's a great moment though where they first come in. We didn't show this because there wasn't really a Sin thing in there, but there's a great moment where they first come in and the wife's just like in the corner like knitting or something.
Yeah,
and then
just
like
crocheting.
somebody's like, "What is this?" And then she kind of leans. She leans in. She's like, lusty cheerleaders, and then she leans back in. Part 4. Like it was really funny.
Okay, so
It's just weirdness.
It feels like something that is a some sort of story a guy would tell, to facilitate.
No, yeah, I didn't know.
some
Yeah,
sort
so
of
but because
situation.
it's this show, it ends up being a thing.
Of course it's real.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, so I don't sound like an idiot. The episode after this is called "Into You Like a Train," and
Okay.
it's not Brittany Snow, but it is Monica Keena, who is for those that know who that is, she's the Brittany Snow of Dawson's Creek. So I was
Discount
close.
Brittany Snow. Got it.
Discount
You were
Brittany
close.
Snow, Monica Keena. But yeah, so it was a train wreck, and then God, I don't know. I thought that was the one we were doing, but this was. I think this was an easier one to send than that one.
Well,
I think this one has its epic, quote unquote, epic moment because you've got the Derek and Meredith will they won't they, which happens a lot, and there's always a will they won't they or several going on at the same time, as is this type of show. But you have like Derek essentially trying to decide if he's going to leave his wife, and you've got Meredith saying you have to show up, and then does he show up? And so that's probably one of the reasons why this one would be considered one of the more popular moments. Then there's also Christina Yang, who ends up telling her boyfriend that she wants to be serious. So for those that are watching for the relationship developments and drama, those are kind of the big things that happen.
I thought it was great when you mentioned, are we supposed to be rooting for her? Because I was always Team Addison, just FYI, when I watched the show back then.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Well, let's move into the video itself then, and I didn't write on it, so I'll go ahead and go through some stuff that I really liked. If you want to know whether or not you're having sex after the date, sneak a peek at those lovely lady limbs at some point in the night made me laugh. And then do they have to tell you about getting shot? I believe the people falling down in agony after getting shot gets the point across just as well.
I loved that one.
Well, it's so true, right? Because what does it mean? I didn't know getting shot would hurt. Oh, who says that? How you don't even have to see it on TV or the movies. To understand that a projectile entering your body and your organs is going to be painful. That was fun to me. Just be sure, you say? Good thing we took the Be Sure 101 class in med school. So good.
That was a good O too.
Thank you. No, it's something I do. It's something I'm doing now. When something's obvious, I'll be like, oh. And so I throw it in for the narrator.
It's like Downton Abbey. It's like a Downton Abbey O.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So anytime you want to throw an O in, I can deliver. And the or double bubble gum could work if we're just throwing out ideas. And then the story about the Carpenter's Bee hive, which I assume is an actual story. But it
is.
made me laugh. And it's so beautiful that it finishes with, anyway, I'm convinced my childhood regret is a better story than what I'm watching now. Made me laugh quite a bit.
Speaking about how interesting the editing process can be, that double bubble thing, like on one pass, we didn't catch. Well, it was misspelled and it was not capitalized.
Yeah.
And we caught the misspelling through one pass, but then didn't think about it being capitalized. And we had to be like, wait, sorry. We need to also
thank
capitalize
God for Jonathan, because I was the lead on this one. I missed it in the combine process.
Yeah, we missed it in the
We
script,
missed it
too.
in the review. And then on the final edit, it's like, oh, not only was this spelled incorrectly, but it also and there's in 2 places. So thank God for Jonathan catching that one. We could have heard from that.
It's definitely one of those things that I would have had to look up, because you could have put 3 different versions of Double Bubble in front of me, and I wouldn't have been able to tell you which one was the real brand, because it could be Double Bubble both spelled like bubbles spelled. It could be Double Bubble both spelled like doubles spelled, or it could be both of them spelled correctly. So, or for all I know, maybe they spelled them both wrong. Maybe they did double like bubble and bubble like double. I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of trouble. So
Hey, Aaron, that's the sin. So I'm gonna need us to redo that one. Yeah, that's a real true story. I wasn't a kid. I was in my early 20s, and I was living in my first place outside of my home, and we had a carport, and there was this massive carpenter bee. They're this thing was gigantic.
Yeah.
And it was buzzing around. And so without thinking, one day I plugged up the hole with a massive wad of chewing, like above double bubble gum, and didn't think anything out. I thought, okay, they'll find a new way out. Well, they didn't.
Killed them
they
all.
bored through the gum. I guess the next day, because I could still see like a ring of pink gum around the opening. And then at the bottom of the carport, like just directly under the hole, was a gigantic dead bee. And I was like, I killed it. I felt so bad. And anyway,
There you go.
I guess this is a way that it can release out into the world, and a true public, very global apology.
What you meant for evil, God used for good today.
God.
What about you guys, Jonathan? What are some of your favorites from the video?
I had Izzy has better chemistry with a ghost. That one was funny because that's the thing. This show is so insane, and Danae's actually up to date on it. I actually had to ask my wife a few things too while I was writing it. She was home while I was writing it, thank God, because she's like you. She's seen every episode. But I had remembered that there was this. I think this was around when I stopped watching it. There was an episode where Izzy saved the life of a deer. And so originally I had that as part of the sin. Like, she had a better relationship with that deer she saved in the parking lot or whatever. And I think that was right after she had pissed off Shonda Rhimes too. So I feel like that was probably that's fine. Here, you get to save the life of a deer in this episode. Dumbass. But then Danae's like, we should do the thing about the ghost. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking forgot about the ghost. Like where she's actually having a relationship with Jeffrey Dean Morgan's ghost.
Wow, guys,
like, what is this show?
What is this show? I'm just telling you from the outside, guys. What is this show? Really?
I mean, it's insane. Because that whole Jeffrey Dean Morgan thing is so sad too. I mean, Denny, right? That was his name, Denny.
I think so. It's been a while, but yeah, maybe.
And he died, and that was actually one of the better storylines on the show. And then they totally ruin it by bringing his ghost into it.
That's the guy from Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, he's oh God, I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
Negan, right?
Negan, yeah. He's in Watchmen, and
right.
the movie
right.
Watchmen, and he's in a bunch of stuff.
To the point of like, what is this show? I really love that we threw in that shredder joke. About like the episode where like the tiny shredders come in and which didn't ever happen.
Yeah.
But because of this type of show, somebody might be like, did that happen? And that's the fun part of that particular one.
I am that person. I was like, I don't know if that's real or not, but what I know about this show, it might be.
And then I already mentioned the Are We Rooting For Her, but I really also like the How Long Does It Take to Allow Open Flames in a Hospital. That was a good one, because that whole scene was ridiculous. God, so much happened in this episode. We completely looked over the whole like shaman or whatever came in.
It did, man. There's so much. I loved working on this script with Jonathan / Jeremy. Sorry, there's a little throwback to my mistake. But
you're good.
I love working with everybody, but there's certain scripts that like stand out. This is one for me working with you, Jonathan, because when I was, and maybe it's just because this show is so cinnable, but you were like on fire, and like so much of our stuff was just like, we really just tore this thing up, and it was a lot of fun.
This was one. Barrett always says stuff writes itself. This was one that kind of wrote itself, I think.
Yeah, you were like in the zone.
There was so much just like sexism and
it's everything.
Ridiculous things happening. Oh my God, that lighting in the elevator that you pointed out, like that spotlight on Karev. What the hell?
I know. I did like how we worked in the Izzy stuff because, behind the scenes, what's her name? Katherine Heigl. Mm-hmm. She really pissed a lot of people off, which I can talk about a little bit in Keeping Tabs. But essentially, after she did this global piss off thing, she was like gone from the show. And even though she was one of the most popular characters, so I like that we kind of threw in a couple shady sins sort of to that note.
And I thought, I didn't think it was right to go I couldn't figure out a way to go there, but it was also interesting that the Isaiah Washington and George, they had a couple like really nice moments together, and then you think about in real life what happened with those two, and it was really weird. But I saw no way to really tackle that in a sinful way without it being like mean.
I also thought it was fun to do like the, hey, it's me from the future and I was right. I thought that was just kind of a fun play. Why does it have to hurt to be so hard, or what does it have to be so hard? It's not hard, it's painful, but it's not hard. And then it's like, well, you're sexing wrong. That was fun. And then I really enjoyed being able to throw in a Gandalf outtake for the shaman being late. And then, the wizard isn't late. He arrives precisely when he means to. Hearing those kinds of outtakes are really fun. So, yeah.
Nice.
Was it really a shaman? Because I don't want to offend anybody if I said the wrong kind of thing.
No,
was a shaman?
I think they called him a shaman in
you're
the
right,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some kind of mystical healer.
Yeah, they believed that she was ill, and if you get ill in that culture, it means that part of your soul is missing. So they have to bring in a shaman to reconnect you with your soul before you can have surgery.
And I will say the moment where she's talking to Meredith about that was actually a nice moment.
Yeah.
Like this show has it has good actors for the most part. It has there are nice moments in it, but then they do something insane. You're just never mind. You got porn guy over here on the side.
I laughed a lot. I do not watch this show, but I am glad I'm watching the videos, and I'm glad you guys are writing them. It is a lot of fun. Let's move on to Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Jake and Amy. This is, of course, the wedding episode of our beloved Jacamy. Is that the couple name of them? Jacamy? Is that what we're going with? A make? I don't know. This was a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and I writing on this one. I've said my piece about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Anybody have any addition? Like, Danae, are you continuing to see this show in a better light? Like, starting to figure out, I'm kind of liking this, or are we going backwards now and you're not liking it anymore?
I think I might be slipping backwards.
Okay.
Something about the back and forth of Jake and Amy and how I don't find it realistic. I know that's not always the point of what we are watching on television, and there's
especially
certainly elements
show.
of
yeah.
But like when they made fun of that kid's face, I was like, okay, I don't understand your guys' relationship. It seems like it's always just nitpicking and banter, and it's all really, really fast paced. This sort of like really frantic energy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just me watching very selective parts of this entire series.
Sure.
So I don't know. I go back and forth. After watching this one, I'm outside of wanting to watch it. And I was just last week being like, I think I'm going to watch it. So it's just this wishy-washy feeling.
Yeah.
Well, this is more of a generic one too, because this is definitely like a season finale. This was a season finale, right, of that 5th season or whatever.
In fact, it was before it aired. Right before it aired is when they canceled Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and this was going to be the last Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, that's right. And then it got picked up.
It got picked up within 48 hours because of fan response. So
and that was the joke, the backbone for the joke that you wrote about.
Yes, things getting uncanceled around this time in the 9/9.
Yes.
That was a whole weird thing, because that was one of those things too where I don't think it wasn't like it was, because it was on Fox, right? And now it's on NBC.
NBC, I think, yeah.
But I think like NBC, like I think Universal owned it, so like Fox wasn't really making money off of it, even though it was a decent hit.
Yeah.
Because this TV ratings now are so different. It was something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, I forgot. That's right. Until you wrote that sentence, I had forgotten about that. But it's a pretty generic thing. Like you've got a wedding, which is a very traditional sitcom thing, and then you've also on top of that you've got the ex-boyfriend, I guess I don't think he was.
I
really
like him, by the way. I like that.
I do too.
I think he's really funny.
I like him a lot. He's had a lot of sitcoms that have not done well.
We watched one. What was the one where it was about a wedding? I think like it was all about getting ready for a wedding, and it was like a comedy of errors. I thought it was hilarious.
that sounds familiar.
But it got canceled.
And so you had that, and then you had the whole thing with Holt. So, but I thought for a wedding episode, this is one of the better ones. I think like I preferred this over Ross and Emily that we covered on Friends.
Yeah, me too. You mentioned Danae falling kind of out of love with the show on this one, and it's so focused around Jake and Amy, as is the name of the episode. And I, for one, and I think I'm in the minority of Brooklyn Nine-Nine fans, although, Jonathan, I think you joined me here. I never was really, truly invested in their relationship. Like you said, Danae, it doesn't feel real or right to me for some reason. Instinctually. I can't even really put my finger on it. I just never really
Yeah.
bought into them.
They come out with funny things, like they have funny moments and stuff together, and the actors play well off each other.
Sure.
But no, I know what you mean. Like I'm not like, if they hadn't gotten married, I would have been like, okay, that's fine. Like I definitely wasn't like, it's going back to Friends. Even though that is a crazy relationship, you're still kind of pulling for Ross and Rachel, right? Like
Right.
just from a fan standpoint. I don't think you really have that with Jake and Amy.
Yeah.
I think I just put my finger on it. They're in competition with each other all the time.
Right.
I don't relate to that kind of thing in my own personal life. So
No, that's a great
probably
point.
part of it.
Because you beat your husband at everything.
Yeah, I'm just the winner.
By the way,
I
that
don't have
joke
to be
about that kid's,
challenged.
I thought that joke about the kid's face was. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, and it can be funny because it's not an actual kid that we ever see
Exactly.
or know.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so-
No, it's a great sin. It's a great sin. Do not get me wrong. I just thought that joke was.
I do want to say before we start going into our faves, also, I was the lead on this one as well. And this was one where when I got this script, similar to Jonathan's, I'm like, they're all so good. Like, so I love working with you guys because it's just like I can, when you're thinking about putting a script together and you've got such good stuff to work with, it's the pressure is sort of off in a way where I'm like, I was maybe having a little bit of a lame day and you just covered all that right on up.
And you said you wanted to talk about this because this is the one where you were sending a message about how you were happy to work with us and all that stuff. And then as I sent a thumbs up, you sent a message that said, in fact, it's made me a little teary-eyed. And I'm like, hey.
Cool emotion.
Yeah, like...
Cool, glad you're upset.
I did not know about the crying portion before I sent that thumbs up.
Yeah, that was one of those hilariously comedic misfire, right? Like where you're like, cool, whatever.
Well, the feeling is absolutely mutual. We're working on a script together right now where you just sent me a script yesterday, and it is a shorter sitcom kind of thing, and we had together like over 100 sins, and I'm just like it was just like, and I'm like, I don't know what to cut, they're all so good. It's just like,
well, you guys sent me one this week where I was like, this is probably way too many sins, but I don't have a strong opinion on cutting one, so whatever.
We're keeping them all.
So the feeling is definitely
it was
mutual.
a fun one. It also was cool, like, to watch it, to see the marriage and see all the shenanigans, and I can see why it was, definitely a fan favorite for sure. And on a cliffhanger as to whether their job was Captain Holt got his job, and just
Well, and the whole thing is way more interesting, right? And that's the B plot, because I mean that's one of the most interesting things about this show is his character, where he's a gay black man who had to work like back in the 60s or 70s, I guess, when it was like, definitely not okay, like, it was not accepted. And that's been an interesting thing that the show's never been afraid to tackle. And so the idea of him getting to become what is he trying to become?
Sergeant, maybe?
Well, he's already a captain.
I don't remember now.
Commissioner,
but commissioner
or something?
maybe.
Yeah.
Commissioner?
So like that actually ends up being a pretty interesting like storyline, and I care so much more about that than I do Jake and Amy getting married.
Well, and I actually like him and his husband more than I do Jake and Amy together. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that guy. I can't remember that actor's name, but he's great. He's in a lot of the like Christopher Guest movies and stuff.
Yeah.
I also, for the first time as a casual watcher, just as we're sinning, got to see the one guy's obsession with Jake more in this, and I kind of referenced it last week.
Yeah,
but his sidekick
obsession.
Guy,
if you're telling me I ruined your wedding, I will kill myself.
Yeah, that was thrown around a little too casually a couple times for me. But it was funny to see like how, I think he said even to Amy something about like the next thing you have to do is make babies, make more Jakes. And I'm like, God, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah. Well, that is Andy Samberg's sense of humor. He loves taking something, a personality trait or whatever, and just finding out what it looks like turned to 11. And it's just, he's really great at making it hilarious. It's this just like this elevated reality that is not real in any way whatsoever, but says something real about us as human beings. Like it's, I don't know. I'm really impressed with him. I think he does great work.
There was a sweetness to when they are getting married, and it kind of the camera cuts over to him sitting down and just how giddy he is that Jake is getting married.
Yeah.
That was really sweet. I did enjoy that. I thought that was kind of cool.
And I did like Amy getting to say your butt is the bomb.
Yeah,
that
that's hilarious.
actually made me laugh.
Yeah, it's really funny.
That a genuine, real laugh
Yeah.
at that part for me. It's the
That's
first
like
time I've laughed at the
something-
show.
Such a great
That's something
callback.
my wife would say, just because I have no butt, so she would say that just to be funny. But it would be awesome.
I think.
I don't want people to think like I don't actually have, like I have a butt, but I don't. Never mind.
Everyone think about Jonathan's butt.
I'm just like a straight back, basically.
It's just shoulder to ankle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jonathan, since we wrote on this, what were some of your thoughts about the video?
I liked the whole "do corgis have spines" conversation was very fun.
Dude, I'm telling you, I that sin is legit. When I paused that, I was like, "What is going on with this dog?"
Yeah,
Like,
it's weird.
it's an optical illusion. It's so crazy.
I also liked you guys' comments on frosting. I'm not a huge frosting. Well, I don't really mind it, but I just like the whole idea, like, it's now simply a frosting. It's no longer a cake. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really funny. And then I liked the terminology, B-plots only exist because of a-holes.
Mm-hmm. That was a great
Which is very
that was
true.
a great one.
Yeah, that was fun to construct. Some jokes are you just have to construct them, like put them together so they make sense. And I liked that one.
Because I remember I noted that when I was like, I really like this set and I want to keep it. I was like, but it's kind of funny that we're actually making fun of a B plot that actually kind of works, like better
Right,
than
no,
the A
that's
plot,
true.
you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, we're sinners. I mean, we're sinning the show. We're not, we're not
Right.
celebrating or whatever. Or we are celebrating it, but we're being silly. But
We're
what I mean.
celebrating it by sinning.
We're celebrating it as well.
So it's
Yeah,
totally
we're sinning.
fair. But it's just I'm sure there's shows we've done where that would have been awesome, with the super terrible B plot, like some of those Friends episodes, for instance, or Big Bang Theory or something.
Yeah.
But it works.
I loved, just remembered a quote from my martial arts instructor: if size mattered, then the elephant would be king of the jungle. It has nothing to do with what's happening in the show right now, but they're making fun of a kid's face, so I had to take a mental break. It's just such a well-constructed work through kind of how we sin, and I just love the whole process of that one. And then the other one I had that you didn't mention, Jonathan, was the line of ways that the daughter call makes no sense whatsoever, and it's something I completely missed. And Danae had this beautiful series of just how stupid that idea is, starting from the fact that it's not in a hidden room, it's out in the living room. Also, why would she call Jake if she's trying to save Amy? And, in the voice modulator and speaking so threateningly and all that stuff. And I'm just like, how did I think I even wrote back to you, Danae, in the script process that I was super jealous of that run, because it's so true and it's so good. And I really like that part of the script.
It was great.
Yeah, you actually didn't say you were jealous. You said you were mad.
Yes, that's what it is. I'm actually angry I didn't think of all this. Yeah.
Yeah, which I was like, I don't usually hear about Aaron being mad. Now I know he's kidding, but then I let myself go to this place
I had
where
to go
you
back
really
and
were.
Yeah.
I had to go back and rewatch it when I read the script, though, because I couldn't remember. Like, because to me, like I guess in my mind, I just assumed it was some room after that was said. But then you go back and you're like, oh, that's like a foyer or something.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
out in the middle
there
everywhere.
on the wall.
Yep.
God, that scene's funny too, where he tells Charles to put his picture up there so he can be a part of it.
Yes. I want an arch nemesis. What about you, Danae?
You guys mentioned quite a lot. I did want to say that the cake really made me mad, and I was so happy with how it was sin, like the Play-Doh art and all that stuff, which I know you guys kind of talked about. But I wanted to find a way to sin the construction of the cake, and I was trying to write something, but it fell apart.
No, that sin came from a very real animosity I have towards fondant.
Yeah.
I think cakes have become artwork, which is fine, but just do art and then serve actual dessert. Don't try to combine the two, because you're sacrificing the dessertiness by, making it such art. That's a very real thing I've seen start to happen. That's annoying.
I was so happy to see it in the script, because the cake had to be sinned. But that's definitely not cake, and it wouldn't hold its structure. There's no way that and the exterior was so perfectly, crafted, and of course it's just a prop, blah blah blah, which is ultimately why I just couldn't find a way in. So I really loved reading the fondant hatred and the cake hatred, and seeing Jonathan's notes about fuck this cake. So great.
I guess you're not a frosting person, right, Aaron?
No. I only eat the cake part.
I want the cake. Yeah, I want the cake.
I'm actually super. We're all completely in agreement on that.
Nice.
Just give me the cake, and if there's going to be frosting, let's let it be something other than that really sweet, just sugar frosting.
Yeah.
Cupcakes have become that too, though, because when they started opening those cupcake stores, they have all this crap on there. It's I don't mind a thin layer of chocolate frosting or something, but that's all I need. I just need a thin
twice
layer.
The height of the actual cake.
I just take a knife, I just scrape all that junk into the trash, and I eat the actual cupcake.
I don't need a banana stuck in there, and I don't need a dick and balls with a banana and 2 cherries, or whatever they're doing.
I don't need a banana stuck in there. Jonathan Watkins, circa 2020.
No, but they do. If you go to those cupcake stores, which I don't even know if they're still really surviving now, so that's kind of sad. Sorry.
Speaking of 2020, the bathroom break in the year of our Lord 2020 cracked me up. You've been staring at your phone for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was so good. And I don't know why I really loved the screw the universe is a dick, and then you wrote that's astronomist for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
That was very funny.
That one surprised me. I also liked pointing out how did the bomb even get up there? The whole thing just kind of falls apart. So
frosting cake.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And outtakes that I really enjoyed was because I couldn't find a cake angle. Being able to put a cake boss outtake was fun because there's an epic moment in Cake Boss where they drop the cake that's due that day down some stairs.
Yeah,
and the Cake Boss releases his inner anger. And it's so uncomfortable to watch.
This is so...
I highly recommend it.
This is so tangentially related, but it's that same feeling. Did you watch the Lego Masters reality show where they did intricate Lego sculptures and amazing Lego art pieces?
I saw bits and pieces, but I never watched the whole thing.
Bits and pieces. There was an episode where they spend 6 hours creating these masterful Lego sculptures, and then they have to roll them to the judging platform, and they were rolling it, and the wheel hit a stray Lego that had just landed on the floor or whatever, and the whole thing just fell over. And it was one of those moments where it was just what do you do? And so they're trying to put it back together as best they could in the 20 seconds they had before judging. And
oh man,
yeah, it was the worst.
So
that's that
those
feeling
shows where they present cakes at the end of a cake baking show.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is they have to get it from their table to the judging table without it falling over.
Yeah.
And it's 6 feet tall with all these
same thing. Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a few of those. Have you seen those SNL sketches, Aaron? They've done a couple of times where the people are making those terrible cakes, and then one of the cakes wants to be killed. It actually comes alive.
Sentient. Yeah, it becomes sentient. It's please just
and it's
kill me.
all deformed and stuff. It's please kill me, and it's throwing up frosting and stuff. It's
the last thing I'll mention was the outtake for Short Circuit. Beautiful Stephanie. I thought that was great. So.
Yep.
MVS this week was BlackPink. How you like that? I
like it a lot. Thank you.
In your area.
Yeah, BlackPink in your area. Jonathan, you like this song? Is that what you're saying?
No, I like it fine. I'm a fan of BlackPink. When I started working on music video sins, that was when K-pop really was taking hold. So we did a lot of K-pop videos, and they always were kind of the ones that I enjoyed the most.
I'm definitely down with K-pop. I thought it was interesting. You talk about our job, and I think we're in this conversation earlier before the show about subtitling things and making sure it's correct. And I'm looking through the BlackPink script, and there's Korean subtitles in the script, and I'm just like, that's next level. Like copying the Korean subtitles.
Yeah, you have to go Genius Lyrics. I don't know how Barrett does it. I go to Genius Lyrics. They'll do a translation, and they'll have the original, and so you can kind of put them up side by side and write it all out. So yeah, that's takes a little longer to construct the script sometimes, just because you got to write more. But no, it's fun. This isn't their best song. I think like they've had stuff before this that was a lot better, and also a lot of their stuff sounds very similar. But every one of their songs seems to they're just earworm. They just get in my head, and they're really talented women, and they're really good. I don't know. I enjoy them. I like them more than like BTS or something.
Hey, that's our podcast, man.
Oh yeah, that's
Hey.
right. The band BTS.
Oh, thank you for clarifying. What did Barrett have to say about BlackPink? How you like
Barrett?
that? How did he like that?
How did he like it? He said also, because he was saying other things. We'll get to that conversation about Big in a moment. So let me just remove the also. BlackPink may be a shadow of their former selves, but they outdo any American group, male or female. That's all he had to say about BlackPink. I don't have a lot of experience with BlackPink, but I think to quote Aaron, fascinated by it. Like there's something about high energy performers that I always am intrigued by, mostly because of this thing called the cardiovascular system. I don't have one, but I'm like, I had a dream last night that I was being chased. My husband and I were being chased, and he was outpacing me because he's healthy, right? He can actually move his body and run and stuff. It's pretty amazing. And I'm just like, I don't know, like stuck behind trying to, and my leg hurts, which my leg actually hurts in real life too. So that's probably like something that I'm working through in my sleep. But I'm like, in my dream, I'm telling myself, you really should walk more. You really should start moving your body and helping your heart and lungs to be at their best. Like you can't just sit forever. And this is in my dream last night. So when I watch performers of any kind, but then, the kind that are able to, and I know that they're not probably technically singing and dancing at the same time in a music video. But there's just people who do. They can like move and sing and perform and remember choreography. And I'm like, cool. I remembered to bring my water with me into my office today, which means I don't have to get up and go get it in the kitchen. That's my big motion for the day.
If you watch them live, though, I don't know it now. I don't know if they're lip syncing on their, the live performances they do like on talk shows and stuff. But
sure,
they were definitely doing the exact same dancing. Like they're working it. No, they're talented. The couple of them have really nice voices, and then a couple of them are really good with rapping. That kind of aspect of it. And I think they. Even though I'm sure they were like kind of put together because they started in like 2016, they were all like, I think they're all like in their early 20s now. So I guess they were probably all like 18, 19 then.
Right.
They still work well together as a group. And, you wouldn't know that they were manufactured if they were.
I did start to do like a little digging around to figure out just what does a quick like BlackPink search yield. And you know how it kind of shows you the top. Now, like when you Google something, you have all these little drop downs of most commonly asked questions about BlackPink. Who's the leader? Why are they so popular? How old are they? And then who is the prettiest?
Lisa.
And there's an answer.
Sorry,
it says Lisa. And I'm like, what the hell?
I thought you were asking me.
Oh my God, no. Why would anybody Google who's the prettiest?
I'm
They're
just
all
kidding.
gorgeous.
No, they are all gorgeous.
Why is there an answer? That's so stupid. Sorry.
No,
BlackPink's Lisa is Asia's
gorgeous.
most beautiful woman. I don't know. BlackPink's Lisa is Asia's most beautiful woman, according to this thestar.com. What are BlackPink haters called? They're called blackheads. Just
This is good information. This is good information.
Anyway,
my research, of course, was on the lyrics, kind of what they're saying, and they really aren't saying much here, guys.
Well, I was actually confused about that at first because I wasn't like when I first listened to it, I wasn't taking it as like a failed relationship.
Yeah, what was it about? Tell me.
It's a failed relationship song.
Yeah, a guy that pissed him off, and then they're like, "Well, look at me now." And
they're gonna kill him.
I don't know.
If you
Boy,
believe
you just
what
went
Barrett
dark
says,
there, Danae.
Well, it got. That's one of my favorite parts.
I'm not gonna tick you
Of
off.
the video. That's one of my favorite parts of the video is like when it turns into this one. Sin is like, I think this is a revenge movie, and I'm reflexively guarding my crotch.
Yeah, I had that one written down too.
Because at first I kind of took it more as a Mean Girls kind of thing, like, you know, look at me, now look at you, or look at you, now look at me, and I wasn't even thinking about that. And then I, after I watched it and I was looking more into the lyrics, I was like, oh, never mind, it's about something else. Which I had to change up some of the stuff I wrote after that, but that happens.
Today, what
especially
else,
with songs that are not in English, and it takes me a little longer to figure out some things.
Today, what else in the video did you have circled?
I circled the up is down, left is right, and I still have my erection. Thought that was. I just wasn't expecting that. I don't know why I don't expect it, but I wasn't expecting that. But my favorite one was bringing the line back from a previous video with Jeremy's voice coming in saying Lisa has wandered onto a live action remake of Aladdin, and how perfectly it still works. But then to follow that up with the clever, yep, still works, and the voice still sounds exact same.
That was
it's
fun.
just such a clever, multiple layered Sin that really just speaks to our universe, and so hyper fans are really going to enjoy that one. So of course I don't
know why. I don't know why when I was watching it though, like I remembered that, like that Sin popped up in my head when I was watching it. I don't know why I remembered that.
It's awesome.
Because that was from like 2 years
good.
ago, and it was the Boombayah is the name of that song, and so I went back to that video, and then I think Barrett decided to use Jeremy's voice, because at first I was thinking he would just stay it, but then it made a lot more sense to use Jeremy's voice because then people would know what we were doing. And then he added that bit too about the voice sounding the same. So and his like like he's doing this like clearing his throat. It worked out better than I even expected it to. So I was glad.
I also like how Jonathan, you mentioned in the conversations behind the scenes about that you're pretty positive that you could use an old script on a new video and it would match up by 75%.
Yeah, you definitely could, because they're typically doing the similar things in each video, and they also even like they section them off about the same, like this person typically sings like the first part, this person sings. It's crazy and it's just because I've watched so many of their videos for research, quote unquote. No, but seriously though, I think we've covered just about every one of their videos, so they're all very similar. But yeah, I think we could that'd be fun to try anyways. I've always wanted to put like an old script on something and just see how it works.
I thought we should have done it with The Lion King, considering how that movie is the same movie. The problem is then you wouldn't get the sins about that idea that it's the same. The sins that have to do with remaking it. I also liked Nobody Tells Me What to Do. I thought was really funny, that sin. And the Kamala Harris shout out I thought was great too. So yeah, there's some fun stuff in here. What about you, Jonathan? I
like the Do They Have BTS Envy? I thought was really funny, which of course was referring to the band and not us.
I always have to remind myself though,
And just the BlackPink in our area, that is something they've been doing since that Boombayah video. And Barrett and I both have always been like, that is such a weird thing to say. Like, I mean, I have a feeling like maybe it translates differently. Maybe it's a more common phrasing there, like in Korea, but like, I don't know. It just kind of sounds like you've got like an STD or something.
Yeah. Necrosis of the vagina.
And I was glad Barrett kept in my also known as
pulling. So casually.
Wait, what did you say? What did you say?
If you were a doctor on Grey's Anatomy and you're both talking about this thing, and then like
what, vaginal
Dr.
necrosis?
Dicer's like vaginal necrosis. That's a very serious thing.
Oh my God.
We need to have surgery right away. Prep the OR.
You can't be mad that
I
know what it's called.
Did you say vaginal necrosis? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I did.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
God, I hope not.
That's so funny too, because didn't they do the vagina dentata last week? And they were talking about, which I believe is a thing, or it's definitely a horror movie thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that up. But I was very glad Barrett let me keep in the also known as pulling a Veruca Salt, because I was the Veruca Salt song Volcano Girls. I don't know if you guys know who Veruca Salt. You know what I'm talking about, the band Veruca Salt from the 90s?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Willy Wonka, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a grunge band from the 90s. These two women, they had a couple big hit albums, and they had their first song was called Seether. That was their first hit. And then on their second album, they had a song called Volcano Girls. And then towards the end of the song, they start playing the Seether, and they say, "We told you about the Seether before." So when they repeated a previous song title in the BlackPink thing, that was like the first thing I thought of. So there you go.
Very nice. Let's move on to CinemaSins. CinemaSins Fantasy Island. This was an Atkinson Watkins script. Chris and Jonathan writing on this one. We'll talk about the movie first, a movie I assume Danae has not seen.
I have now, because I watched the Sins video, and that counts.
We showed a lot of the movie.
For sure.
You did. Although it's still confusing, but whatever.
No, this movie's a mess. I remember watching this movie and going, "Oh, I pity the people that have to write on this," because it's just like nothing makes sense, but you have to wind yourself around this plot to explain why nothing makes sense. And it's a movie that wanted a twist, but didn't really need one actually. And the twist just makes the movie completely awful and completely imperceptible. So I was enjoying myself through about 70% of this movie, and then the twist happens, and I'm like, oh, so this movie means nothing and makes no sense.
I was never enjoying it, to be fair. No, I think, and it's even the second time you watch it, it's so much worse. But
I was enjoying it because of the people in it. Like, I was having fun.
Oh no, I like the people in it.
Yeah. I was having a fun time, and then the movie was just
it's like
whatever.
It's a bunch of people that like you've probably seen in like TV shows that you liked, and like Maggie Q and Ryan Hansen, and all of a sudden I forgot
Michael Pena.
Michael Pena's in it. He's
Pena. Thank you.
But Lucy Hale from one of my favorites, Pretty Little Liars, that I've mentioned before. But no, and she's also a fellow Tennessean. But I like the actors. I didn't like the movie. I think it's one of those things. I think the twist is a good twist, but it needed a different movie before it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And then so the movie that they chose to play needed a different twist or ending. And Chris he's the one who wrote this in about, this could have been a cool twist, when the guy says, "What if this is my fantasy and you're just in it?" And he's like, "But no, it's just a bad line it's just a good line in a bad movie or whatever." But yeah, no, this movie's horrendous. And the problem we had with it, or Chris did, because Chris did the Combine. I'm glad I didn't have to do the Combine after he explained this to me. But like this movie is so all over the place. Like it keeps like stepping over itself.
Yes.
So we would write similar sins, but they would be in completely different parts of the movie.
That's
so
what
like
I'm saying.
I would have a sin at the beginning that he would have at the end. So then he would have to go back and make sure that he kept having to go back and make sure we didn't repeat ourselves. And then I even caught a few once he sent me the Combine, and I don't know that's ever happened. Like
I just remember watching it and going, it is going to be such a pain for whoever writes this to figure out where to sin, what to sin. It is going to be a Gordian knot of sins.
As we've bragged about Chris in the past, and I think we even talked about this last week, he is so good with plot. Mm-hmm. Like just being able to tie the plot back together and where they messed up. So I'm so glad he was on this because he made my stuff make a little more sense.
Right.
Today I learned what a Gordian knot is.
Oh, did you just Google that?
Yeah, I had to freaking Google it. I have to Google like 75% of what you say.
Apologies. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I love it. You teach me things. I would rather you talk smarter than me so that I can learn.
What did you find out about a Gordian knot? Does it make sense for the way I said it?
What did you find out?
Yeah, I mean, if you just search for the word Gordian knot, then there's all these incredibly complicated looking knots, but it's based on a legend, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
The legend of Gordon.
It has come to mean like a difficult or involved situation where the problem isn't easily solved, like where you have to work your way through it through hoops and loops and to figure out how to solve it.
So according to Wikipedia, which you should always just read without actually
verify
absorbing anything. Yeah, don't verify it. The interpretation of it is the knot may have been a religious knot cipher guarded by Gordian/Midas's priests and priestesses. Robert Graves suggested that it may have symbolized the ineffable name of Dionysus that knotted like a cipher, would have been passed on through generations of priests and revealed only to the kings of some word I don't know, Phrygia.
Interesting.
Phrygia. Now we're going to Google Phrygia. Hey, guys, just come along this journey with me.
No, let's continue to talk about the actual video itself, or the movie, I guess, if we weren't done talking about that. I think we were, though. We both kind of said it was pretty awful.
I mean, the only other thing I noticed the second time was that it was like, I guess because when I went into it the first time, I just assumed it was a horror movie. But when I was watching it the second time, I noticed how little of a horror movie it really is.
Thankfully.
But it,
for me. Thankfully for me.
Well, I mean, I don't really care, but I mean, either way, I mean, obviously I watch a lot of, I mean, most of the stuff, I mean, I watch a lot of non-horror too. I watch everything, but I just assumed it's Blumhouse and the way they do the trailer and everything. I mean, it just made it seem like it was going to be more of a horror movie. But then you watch it second time, I did realize they actually were basically adapting the show, because that's the way the show would be. It would be multiple stories, and maybe one would be a little more action oriented, one would be a little more funny and romantic. But then they kind of turned it into a slasher movie at the end, or at least they tried to, which is really weird. So I don't know. It's a mess.
It is a mess. It is a mess.
Chris did say a lot of what you guys said. Do you want me to read what he said?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Let's hear what Chris had to say, and then we'll move into the video itself.
He said Fantasy Island has to be the most rule-changingest movie that I've ever seen. The island sets up the fantasies, but it needs Michael Pena. Thank you for telling me how that was pronounced earlier.
Yeah.
To Ariadne, then maybe? I don't know that word. Is it Ariadne?
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 I don't have Slack pulled up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't either.
Google it. Google it, everybody. It never explains. Plus, the big reveal in the movie makes it seem that like one person's fantasy is real and that the island isn't really in control of it, while everyone else's fantasy is just the island doing magic for them. I honestly never knew what the rules were. Just know that the movie makes no sense. The antagonist of the movie didn't need to invite everyone to an island for revenge, but it sets up the confusing actions that leads to the reveal the movie thinks is clever. Also, the fantasies are terribly boring. I mean, come on.
Ariadne is also Greek mythology, and it kind of means the same thing as Gordian knot. She was known for mazes and labyrinths, and
it never explains itself. Yeah. That's why he said it that way. We're learning so much today, everyone. Classes in session.
Yeah, but see, and that's the thing. I mean, this movie's so, like, there's so much going on. I never even thought about the fact, thankfully Chris did, where that, you know, her fantasy isn't even really a fantasy. It's straight up murder. Like, right. There's no fantasy there.
It's so dumb. Like, the whole thing's so dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so angering. I'm remembering more now coming out of this movie, just being very, very angry coming out of watching this, because there's something playful and fun that is happening through a lot of this movie that you could almost give yourself to, even as ridiculous as some of it is. But then the movie just decides it wants to be a twisty horror kind of thing at the end, and just ruins any kind of consistency the movie could have had. Like, it was angering. It was like you had maybe something and then you just ruined it. But yeah. Let's talk about the video itself. Danae, since you haven't seen the movie, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts first.
Well, it's going to sound a bit like a broken record, but Kenzie wrote in the comment section, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought, I'm going to watch the CinemaSins video to see what it's about. Well, I've watched the video. What is it about? And that's pretty much my sentiments exactly.
I've watched the movie. What is it about?
So, you know, we've talked about just the way that you guys expertly handled the complexity of picking apart the plot of a movie that continues to fall apart. That's not an easy thing to do. So I thought you guys did really good. I love the elevator snake button, the press the button that has no number. It's like, or you could have just said the bottom button or the one by the snake. Just that was something fun that kind of circled back around in the script again later. And then the thing about coordinating the island coordinating when everyone would have time to take off for vacation. Just like,
yeah, that's funny.
Not only the big plot things, but like that's a big one. Okay, so everybody had to be here at the same time. How did the island coordinate that? And what is this magic? Yeah. So those are some of the ones I really liked.
I liked also the don't say the plane. Don't say the plane.
Yeah, the plane.
That was very good. I liked him off, as in first name Jack.
Yes.
Made me laugh. And then for whatever, I know what reason, because it's wordplay, but the double day, double the portions is so great. And hats off. That's genius fun stuff there. So I wanted to mention that. What about you, Jonathan?
A lot of that stuff. There's that part too where we talk about how it's ripping off Lost, and then that was one of those where I'm writing the sin, and then I'm like, I wasn't even thinking at the time that it was a remake of a TV show, and I'm just like, it could be ripping off its own TV show, but instead it's ripping off Lost. I love the way Jeremy read. I do like my blood eyes to have a sense of dramatic timing.
Yeah.
And then Chris at the end, there's a couple things. Chris towards the end, then he has to fight his ghost dad, but it's not Bill Cosby, so it's not really a threat. I thought that was really funny. And then he made his dead father proud. That's quite the trick. That's what this movie's so dumb. It's not thinking about anything it's like these people are saying. Like, how does that? You would never say that he made his father proud.
Yeah. Yep.
His father's been dead for, but I don't know. Oh, and then the idea that they could change, all of a sudden they're acting like they can change the past, which you can't do that. Like, that makes no sense. This is a fantasy. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It's just nuts.
It is an insane Gordians knot Adriani kind of movie. It's as if Adriani was trying to untie Gordian's knot. That's what it is.
There you go.
Let's move on to
There's the sin.
to Big, a classic of our childhood. Danae, I'm going to start with you. Have you seen Big?
Yes.
I was thinking you probably had. What do you remember about this experience, about the movie? Did you enjoy it?
I was pretty young when I saw it,
Yeah.
and I remember loving it for many reasons, but mostly I remember loving the idea that there's a magic that exists that could make somebody instantly an adult to do whatever they wanted, which is just a fun thing to think about when you're a kid.
Yeah, wish fulfillment kind of thing.
Yeah, wish fulfillment, but not just like a wish that turns you into an adult that doesn't mean that you're in danger and doesn't mean you don't have food. Like,
Right.
when you think about the process of how any of this would really actually work, it definitely is questionable, right? Because he suddenly has a place to stay and a bank account and money, and it's just, that's all.
The real version of this is a lot scarier and shorter and ends with a mental institution, and I mean, like, it's terrifying, but to see the fantasy part play out, being able to go into a gigantic toy store and work at a Toy Story factory, and make toys, and so I remember loving thinking about that. I remember the toy store thing. The first time I went to New York City, it was like, I have to find that toy store. Like, that's how big that, excuse the pun, scene was in my memory. That's the thing I remembered about New York City.
It's not there anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And the idea too, that there's this childlikeness to an adult, and seeing an adult be so childlike, I think was maybe the budding of my absolute love of Tom Hanks. Who I'm pretty sure this is the first movie I ever saw him in, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the reasons, if not the reason, that he is in my top actors that I love to watch.
I don't think you're alone there.
No, and I mean, like, now, all these years later, we have so much more that we've seen him in, and we know how talented he is, but seeing him, like, in this role when I was watching the Sins video, it's been a long time since I've watched any footage from the movie. Just to see him in that role, I was just this little kid enamored with this guy, who to me wasn't an adult man. He was a kid, right? So that was like the magic of that movie. So that and Splash, I think I saw those either back to back, or I don't know which one came out first, but it was the combination of those two movies that sealed my obsession with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, Splash was like his first big hit. That came out a few years before this. I think it was 1984. But this was definitely what kind of skyrocketed him to the...
Okay. Well, it's no wonder. I mean, it's just so fun to watch him on screen, doing the things that he's doing. So yeah. I do remember also being afraid of the Zoltar machine. That terrified me when I was little. That was one of the scariest things I remember watching when I was a little kid, which just goes to tell how much, gummy bears I watched on on Disney. I was a Disney baby. So it's like,
gummy bears is scary.
They were bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Yes. Which I'm watching with my daughter right now.
Oh, fun.
She and I are watching it. And I'm like, God, this is terrifying. Like, there's this scary show.
I was gonna say you said it like it wasn't a scary show. I remember gummy bears being terrifying.
That was about as scary as it got for me for a while, until Neverending Story and the Gamork stuff, which was awful.
Yeah.
God help me.
And not quite DuckTales level, but Gummy Bears theme song, very good.
Yeah.
It was really addictive. Anyhow, we're getting off topic. So yeah, I have a really, really positive experience with Big.
I saw this in the theater when I was 12, I think. I think that's how old he is, right? The kid, he's like
13
or 12. Yeah. I turned 12 that year. I was 88. And I mean, I remember liking it. I don't know that I've ever been in the love camp. I definitely think as an adult, I've seen it several times. It's one of my wife's favorite movies, so I've watched it a lot. I think one thing about this movie though is Tom Hanks is the reason it works. Like I think this movie is like, I don't think this movie works at all without his performance. So that's interesting. And that's not to belittle. Like I think Elizabeth Perkins is really good in this too. And she probably has the bigger obstacle to deal with there towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
When she finds out that she, bedded a 12-year-old kid or whatever. But I think this movie's a lot of fun. I think it definitely captures, like Danae's saying, I think it definitely captures like what I would have done at 12 if I had become an adult, like what I would have bought. Mm-hmm. And, if I had the access to buy stuff or, what I would have wanted to do and that kind of thing. I think it captures that. Even like the little things, like him like playing, like, he's rolling around in a chair or, stuff like that. Like he nails that kid persona so well. Mm-hmm. He's great.
I agree with everything you guys said. I loved this movie growing up, and I just it kind of sits in the back of my mind. I haven't really revisited it.
Yeah.
So watching it through this video was interesting to me. And I look forward to maybe watching it again someday. But it's fun. It's just good feelings. It reminds me of good feelings.
Yeah. So. Chris and Barrett both wrote in on their thoughts about it. And then Jeremy jumps in with his thoughts on it too. And then that turned into this back and forth.
Jeremy last night was killing me. Go ahead.
Conversation that I'm going to do my best, I guess, to read to you guys in its entirety while not being too much of Danae's voice at the same time. I'm a little self-conscious of how much.
Welcome to the Sins Team Slack channel where this is commonplace. My phone will just start going off sometimes, and I'm like, oh, what wonderful conversation is the Sins team getting into now?
What did Jeremy cook today?
Yes, exactly.
So Chris starts off being the practical one by just talking about his experience with this movie. He says, Big is still pretty magical after 30 plus years. This is the Tom Hanks we never got much of after he became an Oscar winner, which is true, right? Like, I now that I think about it, but I missed that because he's got such great comedic delivery, But
I bet there's
the 80s he pretty much just did comedies.
I'm going to tell you, I bet there's a couple movies from the 80s that you haven't seen with Tom Hanks that you should probably see. The Burbs, if you haven't seen, is one of them.
Oh, The Burbs
that's another one. My mom and dad they love Tom Hanks, and I've seen The Burbs, and that's one of my I love that one. That's a hilarious movie.
That's one of my favorites of his
for sure.
It's such a great movie. Hey, you know what? Let's just go watch it.
That's a little dark. That's a little dark for today.
It does get a little dark.
You never, I don't remember how old I was when I watched The Burbs. It feels like it was a much later, but anyways,
it came out. Well, I mean, it came out the year after, but I don't know when that means you saw it though.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I saw these when they came out or if I saw them.
Right.
I don't know when I saw them.
Right.
When have I ever said, let's stop and go watch a movie?
Well, it's so rare that I genuinely considered it. So it's like, wait, this may never happen again. Let's do it.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
The other one was The Money Pit. Is another one that if you haven't seen,
I've seen that one too.
Yeah, you're a Tom Hanks family.
I would not watch Bachelor Party, but that was another big one he did. Dragnet actually is very funny. That was the year before Big. Nothing in Common with Jackie Gleason. The Man with One Red Shoe. He did a bunch of comedies in the 80s and then kind of quit doing them.
Yep.
Joe versus the Volcano might have been like his last like true comedy. I don't know. There's probably something I'm missing. Unless you count like Toy Story, stuff like that.
I'm thinking about too those actors who do the thing where they can kind of get pigeonholed into a particular role, and so good on him for branching out and having the ability to show his chops. But anyway, back to what Chris was saying. He said sitting it is a silly exercise for sure, but there are a lot of moments in this that can be picked on. The whole reason this movie shifts from New Jersey to New York is odd. Josh and Billy decide that their local Jersey government can't help them with their amusement park questions, so they go to New York for that. And yeah, Josh has to stay in a crappy crime-infested area around the old un-Disney-fied Times Square because how else is he going to end up getting a job in New York so that the movie can feel bigger? Josh's rise in the ranks of the toy company is more unbelievable than him becoming an adult after wishing on a Zoltar machine. How he's hired is unreal. Oh, and that lovely 80s working girl cliche where the more than competent Elizabeth Perkins apparently slept her way to the top of the company. It's not stated in so many words, but it's a thing. You used to see a lot of that in this era. All that said, it's hard to dislike this movie. It's still good after all these years.
Nice.
And then I think it was like the next day, Barrett jumps in and he says, big is good, big is great, big is wonderful. My favorite parts are where Tom Hanks nails the role of the tween, like when he cries when he's alone for the first night, or when he's playing with the pterodactyl and attacking everything in sight, or when he's sneezing out silly string, or holding the ball away from John Hurt's character when he's attacking him on the racquetball court. My least favorite part is after he's gotten coitus and is now a man. And then Jeremy pops up, all caps. The best part of Big is when he eats the tiny corn like it's corn on the cob, and it's the funniest shit I've ever, and you cannot convince me otherwise, even though I did not write on this Sins video and don't get to have a say. To which Bear replies, yeah, but why is he in the crouton section at all? Jeremy replies, again, screaming, so he can make funny with the tiny corn! And Barrett goes, you could have done that with a tiny drumstick or something, though. Yo, a 13-year-old would not be seeking out pickled corn, tiny or otherwise. You would find the meat carving station or the pizza bar or the cocaine or whatever they had at corporate parties in the 80s. Also, they wasted a fucking ton of beluga caviar. That shit was the basis of at least one Frasier episode. Also, the female protagonist had to ultimately deal with the fact that she had sex with a 13-year-old. To which Jeremy replies, he thinks it's regular corn. That's why he eats it the way some kids eat corn, goddammit.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
I love our Slack channel conversations.
Some of the sins that I enjoyed, right off the bat, sorry for the pun, the baseball sins were great with him doing this baseball fantasy that made no sense and going through all the different ways the baseball fantasy made no sense. Why would both teams come out onto the field? Why are there multiple crowds? Why would the Yankees star pitcher be in the bullpen at this point? And why would the announcer say, wait a minute, like it's some huge revelation? I know he's just a kid, but that's just plain crazy. So I loved all that stuff. The story of Carney. Carney grows up to live a life of righteous criminal activity, but that's a story for a different sin. Really made me laugh. Also, given the lack of a pillowcase here, I'd have to assume Josh is sticking his face into a pile of gonorrhea. A pile of it, of course. In the I'm going to be 30 years old for the rest of my life, Paul Rudd sin was really great. And then timing the Oz with the zooms, which I thought was interesting. Because we have the same concept in the Jake and Amy video that we're talking about this week. And it's another one of those instances where in the Jake and Amy video, the narrator goes, zoom, zoom, reverse zoom. And in this one, he's like, like for the zooms. That's so weird that we would do separate zoom sins written by separate people in completely different projects that come out the same week. It's just that kind of stuff blows my mind. So, and then finally, now she kisses his head. About 24 hours ago, that meant a completely different thing. I thought it was really funny too. So lots of great stuff that I wanted to mention. What about you guys?
I just liked the whole, this can't be the first time she's on a trampoline, because Elizabeth Perkins acts like she doesn't know how to jump, and going on her whole thing where they were kind of questioning, what Chris was talking about, where she had to sleep her way to the top. That one where it's like, what's so special about Goldie? Who the fuck is Goldie? Because he just throws that at her at the last second. I had a lot of the ones but going off the baseball one too. The kids are resorting to being Rick fucking Roden. I thought that was really funny. And and then Crotch Hand, I thought was quite nice.
Simple but effective. Simple but effective.
I as far as the plot goes, the ones where it's just asking questions about how any of this works, the transformation where it's a storm at the beginning and then a slow fade at the end, even though it's an epic fade out that he walks away and we understand why, just noticing that was sort of one of those things where you're like, wow, okay, good point, right? When he leaves his friend in New York to walk home by himself as a child from New York back to New Jersey. That was again one of those plot things. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really work. But I really like the bookend sin where it's like the beginning asking like, why are you leaving your door open? And then the very last sentence is like, why are you leaving your door open? Like, have you learned nothing? Mm-hmm. Just a great, clever way to kind of wrap it up. I also, there was this one particular sin where it's like the contemplating the removal of the F-bomb, a sin for using the F-bomb in a PG movie, but that like kids from New Jersey talk like this from birth. Well, I heard kids from New Jersey talk like this to birds, like caw, caw. And so I thought that was hilarious, just thinking about these kids learning from a very young age to just like throw F-bombs at birds. So I was writing it down, and then I glanced at the computer and realized it said bird.
I was going to say, the narration is, there's text.
All right. So I was like, no, I'm still going to talk about this on the show. But one of my favorite ones was because of a conversation that carried over into Slack. So I'll talk about that again, which was, dude, if this guy were more of a sports asshole, he'd inject deer antler spray directly into his scrotum. And I had to ask about this in the chat because I'd never heard about anything to do with
Deer antler spray?
Deer antler spray.
Yeah. All us guys
I hadn't
use it.
watched the video yet, so I didn't even know what you were talking about. And then I still tried to write jokes about it. Like,
I was like, hey guys, what is this a real thing? To which I learn, quote, deer antler spray is a real thing athletes use to try and get an edge. Spraying it into the scrotum, not so much, I don't think. So, I guess this is a real thing. I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah, all us dudes use it. We all have some in the cabinet, the bathroom cabinet.
I like how Barrett was like, don't knock it until you try it. And I responded with something snarky like, well, I'm not knocking having a scrotum. I would never do that.
I will knock injecting something into a scrotum, though. I will knock
Not
that all
these
day.
days.
I don't want that to happen.
That's how you get scrotal necrosis. So you don't want that.
Prep the OR!
Very, very fun. Nice trip down memory lane. Well done, Chris and Barrett, on that
Yeah,
script.
we're getting to do a lot of that with no real I mean, I guess movies are going to kind of start coming out again now, but we've gotten to, it's been kind of fun this summer.
It's been good. Let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
Each going to tell a story from putting together the content for the week. Maybe a Google search, some strange research, a Greek mythological person that we wanted to mention, deleted sin, whatever the case may be. What do you guys got for your keeping tabs?
I looked up some stuff for Grey's Anatomy. I wanted to make sure that I remembered the Izzy drama, so I looked into that again, which just real briefly, in case you don't know what the big drama was with Katherine Heigl and what ultimately led to her kind of getting booted. This is what happened. So she was expected to win an Emmy this particular year. But she announced this statement that she had to pull out of the Emmys contention because she didn't think her role in season 4 was quote unquote given the material to warrant a win. Here's what she said. I did not feel that I was given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination, and in an effort to maintain the integrity of the Academy organization, I withdraw my name from contention.
Wow.
In addition, I don't want to potentially take away an opportunity from an actress who was given such material.
I don't even know how to process that. That is such there are elements of that are respectful, that I actually understand. And then there's an element of it that I'm like, you're basically calling your writing staff awful. And you are being so disrespectful to the people who provide a job for you. And I think that's the side for me that wins out. I understand what she's saying, and
But that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if the people are loving it, it doesn't matter if it's quote unquote poorly written. If you're acting it well, that's what you're getting an award for.
Let them buy you a taco. That's fine.
That's right. That's right.
Holy shit. Oh, can you imagine rejecting an opportunity to win an award like that?
Can you imagine trying to buy Katherine Heigl a taco?
I guarantee you she thought she was taking the high road. That she thought she was doing something admirable.
I think she was also letting people know how pissed she was about she wasn't getting to
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So when she said that, that's what created the ripples, the waves, and that is what ultimately led to her being written out of the script, as you can probably understand why.
I don't know Katherine Heigl. I've never met her. I've never worked with her. But man, the stories are legend of how hard she is to work with. Like it is one of those things that just comes from her sets, and I don't know. I don't know what to think about it.
I believe she lives about 30 minutes away from.
Oh,
I don't know her exact address. I just know the city.
Oh, creepo.
It's around where I grew up, actually. I mean, I know she at some point, because she's married to a country singer, I believe, or something like that. And I know they had a house in Franklin, but I don't know if they're still there. But
yeah, she would go on after this to be in several movies, despite saying that. But then,
she's got a reputation for sure.
But then her reputation continued that she's just difficult to work with, and now you just don't see her in anything.
Because she complained about Knocked Up too. Like Knocked Up was like her movie that made her movie. And I mean, that's fine. If you have a problem with what it's fine. But she was talking about how the way the character was portrayed later on was not very. And she wasn't actually. To be fair, some of the stuff she said wasn't wrong.
Right.
But when you couple it with other things that she's saying, I think it's just in general, people are like, there's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. So let's just avoid working with this person, because you can. There's other people that you can choose from.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I liked doing with Grey's Anatomy was there was a sin where I was trying to make fun of all the medical jargon by bringing in my own medical jargon. So I looked up words to try to figure out how to say something like, all of this diagnostic jargon is like verbal diarrhea, or it's like inflammation of using the wrong words. And so I kind of like pieced that together. So the panoptic overuse of argo determinitis was kind of what I came up with. And that was a really fun thing to do.
And then I mispronounced it.
I didn't give you a prompt. I didn't give you a prompt. That was my bad. So anyway, that was my keeping tabs, not beyond. That's not my beyond the sins.
I love doing stuff like that, though. That made me think. Like I did a video one time when they were playing dominoes. I think it was Despacito, actually. And I don't know anything about dominoes, but I like went in and just looked up a lot of dominoes, like phrasing and stuff that people use, like terminology and stuff. And then I wrote this sin based around that. Like well, if he was really going to do that, he'd be flipping his lid, or I don't know what the terminology was, but I enjoy learning things like that. It's fun.
Yeah. My keeping tab is from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Jake and Amy, because that was the only thing I wrote on this week. And really, the only thing I wanted to talk about was the plagiarism sin, because I looked up quotes on plagiarism, thinking I could easily find a quote about how wrong it is to plagiarize, those kind of things.
I wonder if somebody plagiarized a quote about it.
No.
Well, that was the joke in the Sins video, is that I didn't plagiarize what I clearly did. But the interesting thing was, as soon as I looked up this list of plagiarism quotes, it's all about how great plagiarism is, and all of the quotes are about how plagiarism is like a good thing, a natural thing. And so it was one of those funny instances of being like, oh, I was looking up what I thought was going to be an easy find, and it turns out most people who write quotes about plagiarism think it's not necessarily a bad thing. So anyhow,
why do they think it's not necessarily a bad thing, though?
Well, I have a list of 56 plagiarism quotes. I can read all of them to you.
No.
if you like.
But also no.
I'll read a couple. Maybe that'll help. Immature. This is T.S. Eliot. Immature poets imitate. Mature poets steal. So the idea that stealing things is, whatever. Jimi Hendrix said, "I've been imitated so well, I've heard people copy my mistakes." I thought that was a good one.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
I've been plagiarized before. It's not fun.
When a thing has been said and said well, have no scruple. Take it and copy it is another one from Anatole.
What is isn't there something about the dearest form of flattery? Isn't that
right? Like that's kind of the idea. When you have, this was one that I could have used. When you have wit of your own, it's a pleasure to credit other people for theirs. In other words, you're not apt to plagiarize without giving credit because you've got your own wit that you can use when you need it, kind of thing. So I am never forget the day I first meet the great Lobachevsky. In one word, he told me the secret of success in mathematics: plagiarize. Plagiarize. Let no one else's work evade your eyes. Remember when the good Lord made your eyes. So don't shade your eyes, but plagiarize, plagiarize, plagiarize. Only be sure always to call it, please, research. So I thought that one was fun too.
That is funny.
I could keep going, but I'll just give you one more. Stephen Wright said, the comedian Stephen Wright, who's one of my favorites, to steal ideas from one person is plagiarism. To steal from many is research. And that goes to that whole thing as well.
I love Stephen Wright.
He's great. What about you, Jonathan? What's your keeping tab?
It's not like anything that exciting, but like there was this part in Fantasy Island where Michael Rooker says something. Michael Rooker plays like that's a whole other thing in that movie that makes no sense. Michael Rooker is this guy that's been on the island for like weeks because they tried to kill him or something, and he's just been escaping, and I don't know. He's stuck on the island. He's trying to get off. And he says something about this island, brings up your most desire. And so just out of curiosity, I looked up fantasy versus desire, which I found out are actually two different things. And we mentioned that in the Sin. Well, I mean, I don't know, because fantasy is simply exercising your imagination. And then once you get to the desire is more of it could become a reality, I guess, once you get to the desire stage. I guess the idea is that the fantasy stage is safer and is more normal, and like there's nothing to be ashamed of. But when you get to the desire part, you might want to rethink, how far you're going with this. So I don't know. And then of course, because of that, when you type in fantasy, you get all this sex stuff pops up. So I found this article called 7 Sexual Fantasies That Are Totally Normal to Have. And so they're group
That's
sex.
the lead, Jeremy. Like that.
Huh?
Why do I call you Jeremy? Why do I keep doing that?
I thought you were making a comment about Jeremy. Go ahead.
No, I was like when you just got to that part, I'm like, that's the stuff.
But
my
it's not
research
really,
led me to this article.
I know.
On
I thought it was going to be a more interesting article though. But it's group sex, rough sex, thrill-seeking and adventurous sex, fetishes and taboo sex, which that seems pretty like broad.
I was gonna say that covers like everything else.
Yeah. Some like I would think some fetishes and some
article.
taboo probably aren't normal. Non-monogamous, passionate.
Passionate?
Yeah. There's passionate
what is this
romantic
stupid
sex.
article about sex fantasies?
When I saw passionate romantic sex, I was like, oh, I bet that's Dicer's fantasy.
It is. Fair enough.
And then the last one was homoerotic sex and gender bending.
So pretty much this article could just be like fantasies about sex. Are fantasies about sex. The end.
Yeah. Well, it says these are the ones that are normal to have. I guess it did say stuff like, if you're having like, I guess fantasies about like sexual assault, something like that. Like that's not a positive. But
I guess I kind of expected that maybe it was going to be more descriptive about specifics.
Yeah,
like
me too.
Right.
Fantasies about spaghetti. Super normal.
It was just, and they had like little sections about each one, but they weren't any more interesting, and it was pretty just kind of generic stuff. But I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny, especially the passionate romantic sex. Like, how's that? I mean, I'm not knocking anybody's fantasy, but I don't know. That just seems like that's just what I guess if you're not having sex in real life.
Well, that's that was my first thought was like, the world we live in where passionate romantic is like a fantasy.
Is a fantasy.
I'm just
what
life are you living where that's...
Yeah, like you're getting whipped, in real life, so you have to have a fantasy.
Oh man, I wish I could have sex with someone that I was in love with. Can you imagine what that would be like?
I wish I could have missionary sex. I wish that was a thing that I was allowed to have,
These are the things you don't know until you read an article about fantasies.
Yeah.
So
but fantasy and desire are two different things. Although I don't know that I really believe they are, but I guess just from a medical standpoint or a psychological standpoint, they differ them. But anyways, it led to a really fun sin about this is not Desire Island, Michael Rooker. So
fair. Yep, true. Let's move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
He's going to take a look at a comment that we found from many of various different sources, whether you comment on YouTube or Discord or Twitter or anywhere else. We kind of peruse them all. I'll start. And this was just one of those things that kind of led me down a path of, I feel that way about movies sometimes. 8 Happiness says, the biggest problem with movies like Big is that Josh was more childish as an adult than he was as a kid. And he's right. And I remember thinking the same thing about Shazam with Zachary Levi, is that he's so great at being childlike in an adult body, but the kid version of him is almost too adult. It doesn't have the same, playfulness and fun. And I don't know what that is about child actors, that maybe they feel a little more grounded or whatever, that the real fun of childhood is almost captured in the adult version more than it is actually in the kids version. But that seems to be kind of a common thing in these kind of movies.
I don't know. Maybe as an adult, they have the physical ability and financial ability to do the things they would have wanted to have fun with as a kid, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyways, that kind of
I
resonated
agree.
with me. That resonated with me in an interesting way. And I feel the same about, what is it, the Jennifer Garner one, 13 going on 30?
13 going on 30?
Yeah, I feel the same way about that one too. There's so much more of that kind of tween mentality in her as the adult actor than the tween actor. So I don't know. I think it's a common thing in movies like this.
No, I agree. No, that is interesting. I never really thought about that, but I think you're right.
What did you guys find?
Mine comes from our YouTube for BTS. This is from the episode 60 from Ace Moonshot, who says, YouTube BTS comments are ignored. And then the unread comment says, I think the BTS crew focus mainly on Twitter, Patreon, Discord comments, but I've been following the Sincast on SoundCloud for years, and Barrett's usually really good at responding to nearly every comment, but I've never seen a response from any of the BTS comments. And Ace Moonshot says, I know. I was joking because they mentioned it. Now, let me just say, I do comment on quite a lot, but apologies that we don't get to everyone. But we do see you, so I just wanted to give a shout out to our commenters on YouTube for BTS. But I also wanted to read this one from Snooker Wither on YouTube from the big video that says, let's see if Zoltar can put his money where his mouth is. Okay, that was funny. But you have to stop adding sins to films for your own jokes. So I just want to say to Snooker, welcome to the channel.
We're
You're
glad
going to
you're
have
here.
to adjust a little bit.
We're glad you're here. Enjoy your stay.
Enjoy your stay. You're either going to get used to this or you're really not going to have a good time.
I bet Snooker has fantasies about passionate romantic sex.
There was I feel seen. There was a comment recently on a video that was very similar, where somebody said something along the lines of those sins throwing off the delicate balance of the actual importance of the sin counter, or something like that, where the idea was, this comment was saying, when you do stuff like that, it almost makes the sin counter not as valuable to understanding whether a movie is, bad or good. And it's the only response to that is like, good, you're catching on now. Like, keep going. You're starting to get it, But there is this thing with some people where they do want these videos to be an actual spreadsheet of what is wrong with a movie. And it's just not what this has ever been. That's the other thing, is right from the first video, there are jokes that have nothing to do with the movie that sins are added for. And it's just, I think in people's minds, they sometimes want more of that.
Did they think that there's no lap dance in this scene was an actual sin? Like,
right, yeah. So I just think it's interesting. I understand it. I'll say this. I get it. I get that there is like that part of your brain that wants that. That's just not what this channel has ever been. It's been about entertainment and watching movies with a snarky attitude. But it's not a tally sheet. It's never actually been a tally sheet. And that has to be okay, or you're going to get really disappointed pretty quickly. So yeah, I like always, welcome to the channel. Enjoy your stay. We hope you have a fun time. What about you, Jonathan?
Nice. I had Kenzie's, the one that Danae mentioned during the Fantasy Island video, but I also had another one from Fantasy Island. It's what the hell am I supposed to write is the commenter. When I watched the movie, I was so frustrated when Sloane's husband was asking why he should trust her. Man, that girl just told him she was kidnapped and brought to an island, and this is the time you ask for an apology? Wow.
Fair point.
I thought it was a fair point, too.
Fair point.
Maybe we should have said something.
Let's move on to Beyond the Sin.
To infinity and beyond!
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're each going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. I'll kick us off. I saw the new Mutants. And it's about exactly what you think it would be after a movie has been delayed for, what is it, 3 years? How long has it been since this movie has been?
It's been a minute, yeah. I would guess 2 to 3 years, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I can tell exactly why Disney was having such a hard time trying to figure out what to do with this movie. Because it was created by Fox to be kind of in that X-Men adjacent place where it could be its own thing, and it looks like it's maybe wanting to be a little bit of a horror movie in some ways.
Which is what Fox wanted.
Right. And
if you read into it.
And you can feel that, but you can also feel that Disney didn't want that, and that they wanted something that was a little more Disneyfied, for lack of a better term. And so
but Disney didn't change anything.
Okay, maybe. I guess I would have to read up on it. I would be surprised because it does feel like it's neutered. It does. No. It feels like a movie that wanted to be R that has become PG-13.
Yeah, no, now all the changes that were made while it was still under Fox. Disney's actually releasing it as they got it.
Oh,
that was
okay.
There's been articles about that.
Okay,
yeah.
So those changes I'm feeling did happen, just not under Disney's oversight.
That's my understanding.
I wonder if they had to do with the knowledge of the transition of the studios, because we've known about that for a long time, or what the case may be. I will say this. I love the X-Men universe. It is possibly my favorite superhero genre, are X-Men films. And it takes a lot for me to not like an X-Men movie. And this movie is right on the border for me. I still found myself having fun time just knowing it was in the X-Men universe and knowing they were mutants and had cool mutant powers. I will say, unfortunately, some of the powers seem pretty basic to me, but the ones that don't are really imaginative, and I really kind of enjoyed. The performances are fine. It just feels like a movie that was doctored with so much that it doesn't even know kind of what it is anymore. Yeah. And I think that's unfortunate, because I do think there's good ideas here and interesting concepts going on, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't work overall.
This is one of my all-time favorite comics, so I was pretty excited about it. But I've seen the trailers. I thought it looked interesting to me. Like I didn't really know exactly where they were going with it, because the New Mutants started when the X-Men were like, this was in the early '80s. The X-Men got like basically stranded on another planet. And so Charles Xavier had to create like these, and I don't know how much they go in this movie or if they do any of this at all, but just the basic premise was that Xavier had to go and basically find new mutants that he could use and form a new X-Men. So that's why you get New Mutants. And so I always thought that was really interesting, and it was just kind of like they were kind of restarting everything. And the X-Men came back pretty quickly, and then you had an X-Men comic and the New Mutants comic. But I just always found those characters really cool, and it doesn't really look like they're following that too closely from the trailer, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the movie could be completely different than what the trailer's showing. But it looks to me like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors with X-Men.
Yeah. I think that's a hilarious, valid comparison.
And yeah, I mean that's exactly what it looks like, and I think I've heard that comparison, so maybe I'm not too off.
The only other thing,
have you seen Dream Warriors?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How did you had seen that?
Yeah, I don't know why. But yeah, at one point I did. The other thing I would mention is it starts with the Marvel logo. It is obviously in Disney's purview now. And I don't know if anybody said anything about it being part of the MCU proper, but what's nice about this movie, if they wanted to, it easily could be. It's so separated out that there are mentions of the X-Men, but they're just mentions. And so it's one of those things where I don't think this is how Disney wants to start their quote-unquote X-Men universe, but it could still exist in that world without having to do any kind of gymnastics to do so.
Yeah, I'm really curious what they're going to do with that. But yeah, I do know like one of the things Fox had Josh Boone change immediately was that Storm was the administrator in the original script. And Fox was like, and apparently like, I don't know, Fox was just like, no, we're not doing that. For whatever, maybe they wanted to keep that separate.
Right, because something like that would screw up a cinematic universe idea, or it would at least define it in a way that you wouldn't want to define it necessarily.
So there were some things like that they changed. And then Fox also wanted him to lean more into the horror, whereas he was kind of fighting against that. But I don't
You can feel
know.
it. You can feel that tension.
Yeah.
You can definitely feel that tension. I think the movie suffers for it. I think it needed a clear sense of direction. What about you, Jonathan? What's your Beyond the Sins?
There's a comic series. I don't know. I'm trying to think because it's so confusing right now with new comics because over the last couple months, everything's kind of gotten back to normal, because there for a few months, like, comics weren't getting released, and at least not a lot of the major ones weren't getting released and stuff, because the shipments shut down and all that kind of stuff. But there's a comic that I think it's Boom Comics created. They're on issue 4, just came out, and it's called Wicked Things. That I've really been getting into. It's written by John Allison, and the art is by Max Sarin. They created a comic that was really popular called Giant Days, which I've never read. I don't know, Danae, do you know what that is? It was a web comic, apparently, and it was very popular, but I've never read it, but I might go check it out because I'm really enjoying this one. But this character, Charlotte Grote, is a former teen sleuth, like a Nancy Drew.
Cool.
And now she's older, and no one really cares about what she did when she was a teen. And obviously, like, the police aren't letting her come help them solve cases or anything like that. So she decides to go to college. She goes to Oxford. And while she's there, she gets basically like a summoning to this award ceremony for like amateur sleuths. And they said they're going to give her this award. And then so she gets there, and there's all these other former, like, teen sleuths and whatnot, and amateur sleuths that are there. And then one of them gets murdered, and she becomes the chief suspect. So that's the first issue. And then since then, they've been, trying to figure out, she's trying to solve that, figure out what's going on there. And then also, she's basically being held in police custody, but she's able to kind of worm her way into letting them let her help them with some cases too. That aspect of it, which has just started in this new issue, I don't like as much. I'm kind of more interested in the main story, and it's also, I should say, it's a comedy, like it's a dark comedy, like it's supposed to be kind of making fun of all these tropes and stuff like that. And she's like this, she's this really interesting and fun character. But I don't know, it's 4 issues in. I like it if you're someone really into comics, but you don't read as much of the superhero stuff, and any of this interests you. I think it's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I don't know where they're going with it from here. And I don't know how much I enjoy the stuff that she's doing with the police force, but I really like the writing, and the art's really cool, and it's just, I don't know, it's a really fun series. So that's called Wicked Things.
What about you, Danae?
I'm going to talk about a Netflix show because, as you guys know, I've been on a Netflix kick. Although this one is one that I'm nervous to tell you about, but also excited because my dad and I used to really enjoy watching incredibly cheesy TV shows like Xena Warrior Princess. And this is definitely in that vein.
Oh.
Where it's, actors and actresses, out there with cheap sets, but also not cheap at the same time. Like, this is called The New Legends of Monkey.
It's live action?
It's a live action. Yeah, it's an Australian New Zealand television series, but it's on Netflix. And it's they just came out with season 2, which I think is why it was suggested, and maybe they had like a fan base or whatever. It was released August 7th of this year, the second season. So, which is 10 episodes, and I haven't made my way through the second season yet. The first season came out, I think, in 2018, so it's been a couple of years. But the fun thing about it is, for me, it's a nostalgia thing where you're watching just, TV choreographed fights and it's just a ridiculousness, right? And I love that stuff. It's been playing in the background. I haven't been 100% absorbed by it, I'll be honest with you. Like, I haven't been like hanging on every word of the mystery of the show, which is essentially I guess it's based off of a production, like a Japanese production that was really popular at some point in time. There's a Chinese novel called Journey into the West. So I guess it's like the original one was kind of inspired from that. And again, it's very Hercules-esque, very Xena Warrior Princess, but it's with monks and demons and gods all kind of like fighting for stuff. I don't want to give away too much, but it's silliness. It's got this great amount of, like in Xena Warrior Princess, it was cheap explosions. This has got the CGI thing going for it. And there's just something really fun about watching what they do in each show. For me, thinking about like how things are made now more than I've really thought about that before. They're in the forest, or they're in this makeshift town, or they're in the outskirts of a town, or there's this entire episode in the first season that's dedicated to them being trapped in their minds. And so it looks like oh crap, I just forgot the name of that sci-fi movie with the spaceship that has like the language when you put your hand up against the like foggy Arrival. There's like this foggy window and inky writing. Like an entire episode looks just like that. Because they're all trapped in their minds and having to write this ancient script and stuff. So, are you
saying minds with a D or minds with an E?
Mind,
okay.
Like your brain. They're trapped in their minds, their brains. They're in like this cranium. So to me, it's kind of interesting how they like what each episode's going to bring as they're traveling together. This monk, these gods, and this legendary monkey. He's called the monkey, and he's this incredibly powerful man who's really cocky and goofy, and then like everyone's characters are just overplayed, and it's ridiculously stupid, and I love it. So yeah, it's a cautious recommend. If you are annoyed by the more inexpensive productions, don't watch this. But if that stuff doesn't bother you and you just kind of want to watch something silly, The New Legends of Monkey is on Netflix. And I watched season 1. I think I would recommend season 1. I haven't finished watching season 2, but I feel like it's missing a little bit of the original charm. It does have some fun humor in it. It's got some fun character talking, back and forth, the snarkiness between the gods talking to Monkey and all that is sort of fun. And there is a mystery that they're trying to solve. And so, of course, you kind of want to see the mystery out. But The New Legends of Monkeys on Netflix. And that's what I've been watching.
Sometimes I don't understand how you're not a Doctor Who fan. Sometimes, like with the way you talk about like cheap sets and liking the nostalgia of cheap productions and over the top acting and that kind of stuff.
It really is. For me, and I know it's confusing and it's got to be really frustrating as a longtime friend of Danae, but I enjoy the journey of discovering things randomly.
Yes,
and so
totally.
when somebody recommends something to me, I don't know why. It
drops
feel
down
a sense
the list.
of it doesn't necessarily drop down the list. It's just like, oh, cool. And then if it comes around in my real life, I probably will watch it and maybe I'll love it and be like, oh crap, like I was told about this for so long. But I know myself well enough to be, if I find Doctor Who and a love of Doctor Who years down the line, I'm not going to think I missed out. But now it's just, I haven't gotten to it and I don't tend to go there on purpose. And I really wish I was different, because I know when I love something, I want someone to watch it and like immediately talk to me about it and all that. So I feel the pain of being my friend, and I'm sorry.
No, you be you.
Aaron's just going to keep putting you on the Christmas specials whenever we do those.
Probably.
Kind of force you.
Yes. Yeah.
Force me to watch Doctor Who.
Force. In fact, we're doing a Doctor Who run. We're sending every single episode, and you're the only writer. So we're starting at the very beginning. I'm
going to add a new theory, which is that I have this job because Aaron Dicer wants me to watch content. It's his secret.
You're not all the way wrong.
Just
you're not all the way wrong.
Stuff.
Oh, man. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure that you're subscribed to go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can hang out with us on Twitter. We are at CinemaSins BTS on Twitter is the official Twitter for the show. You can also speak with us, DM us, whatever, individually at Aaron Dicer, at Danae Says,
DENEESAYS,
and at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Somewhere beyond the sins, somewhere eating wheat thins.
Nice.
Is it, though? Good morning, Danae.
Hello.
Your daughter's drawing cats.
Dude, look at that. I mean, you can't see it, but
there's an Alanis Morissette performance that she did from her home, like, because the Tonight shows and all those they're doing, they just interview the people at home. So there's like this performance where she's doing it over Zoom or whatever, one of her new songs, and her daughter is like sitting in her lap, and I think she's probably not much older than Iris, and I don't know, it made me think of you, like having to do the podcast with like Iris just sitting there.
It wouldn't happen. She is not capable of being still for several hours.
Listen. Not with that attitude, she's not. You listen, she can draw a cat that good, that well, then she can sit and be part of a podcast. She'll probably be just joining in on the body positivity conversations and
that cat thing was so cool because yesterday she's like, Mommy, will you draw a cat? And so I did. And then we drew it together probably about 12 times. And when this morning she wakes up and she goes to a piece of paper and she just starts drawing the same exact cat. But this time she didn't need prompts from me or reminders of what happened. She did it in the exact same order. We did the same thing over and over and over again in the same order. And there's this one particular part after you draw the triangle nose where you're doing like the little U-shaped mouth. And I would say, no, this is the tricky part. So then today when she was drawing it, she's like, now this is the tricky part.
Nice.
It was so adorable.
When she was done, did she say, I'm a cat? Meow.
Meow.
I'm excited. My family is doing a Bill and Ted marathon tonight. We're watching all 3 movies, and none of them have watched any of the Bill and Ted movies yet. So I know that there are parts that won't hold up well, but such is life when you show your kids movies from the 80s.
I haven't seen Bogus Journey in a long time.
Yep. I haven't seen either of them in a long time. I'm excited.
It was weird. Excellent Adventure actually was a little better than I thought it was going to be. But I always kind of preferred that one. I know a lot of people prefer Bogus Journey. And maybe if I watched it now, I would too. But I remember it as a youngin', I preferred the first one. But I never was like huge on either one of them. Like those were never like a huge part of my zeitgeist. I mean, I quoted them and stuff because everybody did. But
is saying the word dude quoting a movie?
I was going to say, like, Danae, what's your Bill and Ted
Party On
quoting history?
Whoa, dude. She's got this little drawing pad. It reminds me of like a Magnadoodle from back in the day where you just draw on it and then you can swipe them. Except for there's no swiping. You just press a button and it clears the entire screen.
Swiper, no swiping.
I wonder what's the name of that drawing pad. Of course, a drawing pad now is something that people use to actually draw with their computers.
Right.
Aha.
You talking about an Etch-a-Sketch?
No, it's called a boogie board.
That's something you swim on in the ocean.
They're really cool. You find them at like Barnes and Noble and other places where, you know, you can kind of pick up some pretty cool items. But essentially, however, I don't understand how it works. I'm going to look this up. I've got the boogie board stuff. This is so fascinating. So a boogie board, it just looks like an iPad, essentially. It's like a black screen, but it's not really a screen. It's just very thin plastic. And then there's a place where a pen kind of clicks in, and then there's a little button at the bottom. So it's called the boogie board. It sandwiches trillions of liquid crystals, tiny molecules that arrange themselves in spirals.
Trillions, you say?
Trillions of liquid. It sandwiches them between 2 plastic sheets. But then when you apply direct pressure, like with a pen, it forces the spirals to stand upright, and then the light from around you bounces off of those crystals, making it look like a naturally bright, whitish or colored, because hers is green. No energy hogging lamp needed, says the website. And then, so you can write whatever you want on a list, a to-do list, a note, or whatever. And when you press the button, it clears everything that is sandwiched between those 2 sheets that's been pressed together. Like it kind of wipes the whole entire screen at once. Oh, hold on a second, guys. Look at this. I don't know if you can you see? It's kind
your
of
brother?
reflective.
Yeah. What's he up to?
I'm so proud of him. So he's in this thing called Makers. It looks so good. I've been waiting to see this all day.
Maker's Mark? Yeah, that's something. I've heard of that.
Finish make big difference.
That looks so good.
Green on the top.
I wish you guys could see it.
Green ones in the dark too.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I've been
good.
waiting on this all month.
You're good. Enjoy your moment.
That's so rad. I'm so proud of him. So for the entire month, the Makers and Crafts section of Twitch, they have a Discord, and they did this challenge where he tried to make something that was UFO related. I think I told you about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he created a UFO out of wood. But what I didn't know is he was going to add a tractor beam to the bottom. So it's like a cone-shaped piece of wood that he's attached to the bottom of the ship. And so it stands on this cool tractor beam cone. It's just really, really, really cool looking. That was amazing.
The only worst feeling in life is when you pour a bowl of cereal and then realize there's no milk. That's the only thing I can compare it to, where it's like you thought you had something beautiful.
I mean,
and then...
Depends on the cereal, though. Like Fruit Loops, I can eat without cereal. You know, like I can eat without milk if I have to. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, that's
like
true.
Cheerios, or probably not. But
Cheerios, I like Cheerios without milk.
I'm not a Cheerios fan, so
I have trouble with the sugar cereals without milk because I need the milk to cut the sugar. Like it's too sweet to eat like Fruit Loops or, you know, Sugar Smacks, that kind of thing.
I don't understand you.
I have a new chiropractor. It's going very well. Really feel like I'm getting a handle on some body pain that I haven't had a handle on in a long time, which is really fun.
Yeah, you've talked about that.
And one of the things they do at the end of every session is they use a massage gun. Have you ever had a massage gun used on you before? Do you know what this is?
Are you talking about a sex toy?
I was about to say I've had my gun massaged, but I was joking.
Thanks, guys. And now I know what podcast I'm on. If you are using one of these as a sex toy, you are hurting yourself. This is not what this is designed for.
Hey, don't kink shame.
I'm not kink shaming. I'm just saying, you know, that would not seem to be pleasurable for me, for either a man or a woman, to put this against those precious parts of our bodies. This is a, I think it's called an...
Now that's all I want to do, by the way. Thank you.
Well, so I'm going to look up what it's called. It's something Volt. I can't remember, but it is shaped like a gun. You pull the trigger and it just pulverizes like knots in like muscles and stuff. I've never had anything like this. It completely relieves all my like right side upper tension that I always carry around with me, and I walk out of there just feeling like I can, you know, turn my head as far as I want. Like there's just like all the pain's gone. But it is intense. Like when they are I can't think of a way to say this that doesn't sound pervy. They are beating on you, beating you off, like I can't find but when they are pulverizing your meat, nope, still not there. When they are tenderizing your muscles with this thing, it is intense. Like I have trouble almost breathing. It's so intense. Like it's crazy. I've never experienced anything like it. My wife has started going there as well. And upon return from her first visit, she was like, "How much are these? Where can we buy them?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I'm totally with you."
But when you abbreviated it the other day that you were going to the chiropractor, I read that as churro. So that's why I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm going to the churro.
And then once I'm back from the churro.
Because nobody abbreviates chiropractor.
I do. Everybody says
in
chiro.
Writing?
Yeah.
So I'm seeing it's about $350 for this thing.
That is correct. $300 to $400 for the good ones. Yeah. I mean, it's like a piece of construction equipment for your body. Like it's
right.
It looks like a nail gun or a
You're not selling this to me.
It delivers 3,200 percussions per minute.
Yes. It's I'm telling you, I've never experienced anything like this before in my life. It's insane. It's glorious.
4 head attachments, 3 speed settings. Yeah, this is some kind of a tool, man.
I know.
3 hours per charge.
I don't think it was created for humans probably either. And then somebody just randomly got hit with one and they're like, ooh, that fixed something.
This is it. Powerful high torque motor featuring quiet glide technology.
Well, yeah, because you don't want it like scraping your skin off when you move it around.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Shut your face. For once, it's you and not me. So
there are so many of those funny like stories, whether they're true or not. I don't care. Like, you know, Reddit or just things that are linked, you know, where it's like somebody purchases a personal vibrator for massage purposes, like on their body, but it looks just like a sex toy. Or someone purchases a sex toy thinking that it's a personal vibrator for their body, and they're like, you know, at home holding a vibrator on their neck, and that's just funny. It's just
guys,
funny
this new massager I got is great.
Or like somebody who inadvertently gets a sex toy on Amazon for a Christmas gift, and then they open up the Christmas present with everybody around them, and it's just grandma who has no idea what's going on, just like massaging her neck with a big penis. It's just funny to me. I'm sorry. I think our script is pretty good though. So I don't think you're going to have to add too many commas.
Cool.
I bought something called Miracle Grow for plants.
Is that something you've never heard of before?
I've heard of it before, but I've never interacted with it before.
Well, you do know the miracle part isn't that you just put it on once and then the plants just live forever, right? You know you are still involved in keeping the plant alive after you put the Miracle Grow on. I just want to make sure you know how far the miracle extends.
It's a recurring miracle.
That's right.
We can't find Miracle Grow. Every time my husband goes to the grocery store or anywhere, there's no Miracle Grow. Because, and this is my theory, everybody is getting houseplants because everybody is stuck inside because they need something to do. And houseplants, you can't just like go buy them the same way that you could 6, 10, 12 months ago. It's like you have to hunt for plants. And people are buying them online and then they're like, oh, I have to get Miracle Grow now. And so there's no Miracle Grow anywhere. So I had to order some on Amazon. Maybe I shouldn't say Amazon because that's like political now. I had to order some online and and I didn't realize, I thought it was like, my God, this is kind of expensive. Okay, so I bought 10 pounds of it and it comes in these really long sleeves. And then it also comes with this little scoop. And on the little, there's a bigger scoop on one side and a little bitty, like a teaspoon-sized scoop on the other. And I was instructed to put 1 teaspoon per gallon of water for my houseplants. So I have 10 pounds of this stuff, and I'm going to be using like
a teaspoon at a time. It's gonna last through to your grandchildren's plants.
We will never need this stuff again.
You'll be dividing up your possessions after you're gone. Your kids will be like, all right, who gets the 8 pounds of Miracle Grow that we've still got left? You saying that thing about why is it costing so much reminds me of the time there was a Wheaties shortage. Do you remember this? And I bought a box of Wheaties off Amazon for $20 and thought I was getting several boxes of Wheaties, but it was 1 box of Wheaties for $20. Because none of the grocery stores had them, and so there was just like a run on Wheaties and
like a price gouge.
Yeah. It's just like I'm waiting for my pallet of Wheaties to arrive, and it's like 1 box. I'm like, I paid $20. That's like $5 per bowl of cereal. Like, it was crazy. I just like, come on. Yeah, this was back in 2018. I just did a search. Where are the Wheaties? General Mills is facing a cereal shortage. This is back in July of 2018.
Suggested article, Aaron Dicer purchases.
There's a bunch. It's like shortage has Wheaties fans missing their breakfast of champions, July 2018. Where are the Wheaties? Big G faces cereal shortage, July 2018. Hey, where did all the Wheaties go? July
August.
2018.
I can't believe I spent $40 on this box of crap.